we invite guests to come by and get high with us here in Nevada's original cannabis lounge. So let's get into it. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the NuWu Sessions Podcast. We're back at it with another one, and I'm sitting with my friend Patrick Allen. Patrick, how you doing today, dude?
I'm doing great.
Hell yeah, guys. So if you guys don't know, Patrick is the co-founder of Indo, right? He is known as Indo Dad. You might be able to find him on social media as Uncle Pot, but a man of many aliases, the co-founder of the brand Indo Cannabis. But I want to talk to you about way before any of that, man. Young Patrick Allen, how did he get introduced to cannabis? When was his first time smoking weed like?
Oh, geez. Well, I guess I'll start a little bit before my first time. My parents were both hippies. I just remember growing up as a kid, driving between Washington and Northern California where my grandma lived, and the car was always full of pot smoke. It was, my parents would literally hotbox us, and like my sister and I just remember like laughing, and like we didn't know why. Like we were just always having so much fun on these road trips. But you know, my parents definitely introduced me. There was always a cookie tin on the fridge, and it just was something that we knew was around and was something that they used. Which kind of, you know, I always followed my sister with whatever she did. She's 3.5, 4 years older than me. And so I was in 3rd grade and she was in 7th grade. And our neighbors were 8th and 7th and 8th graders. They liked my sister. I hung out with them all the time to play. And they were in the garage and they were smoking a joint. And I didn't know what it was. They called it a roach. They're like, we're just smoking a roach. Leave us alone. You know, I was the annoying 3rd grader, you know, 8-year-old, you know, hanging out with
like,
these
that sounds kind of gross. You're smoking a roach? What's going on, right?
And I was like, I want to try. And I just kept begging them because my grandma had always smoked cigarettes. My dad always like, you could never smoke, you know. And I was just like, you know, I was a rebellious little kid. So I talked them into it. They're like, don't cough. Whatever you do, don't cough. And of course, I took a couple of hits, and it was the very end of the roach. So knowing now, you know, what I didn't know then was that it was super potent for back in the day. This is probably 1983, so to give you an idea of the weed potency. Probably like, you know, 10% weed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you're getting some good stuff, right?
But I coughed. I got really high. I ate like 3 bowls of cereal before I left their house, you know, Fruity Pebbles. I remember it vividly. My sister was diabetic, so I couldn't have sugar at our house. So I was high.
Yeah.
I was like, eating sugared cereal. I was on top of the world. I was, you know, I went up to our house and I was still high. I didn't really know what high meant, but I just knew I felt great. And I went up and I proceeded to tell my parents a dirty joke that my neighbors had just told me. You know, it was, I can't go into the joke, but it was bad. And my dad was like, Patrick, what is wrong with you? Get down to your room. And sent me to my room, and I was just like, oh God, you know. I didn't know what was going on. My sister came in. She's like, what's wrong with you? And I told her, and of course she went and told my parents immediately on me. And so I had the drug talk with my dad outside on the deck at age 8.
Wow.
He's like, I don't care if you experiment, but you know, you can't be doing drugs. You know, you just can't. You're too young to be doing. And I was just like, I didn't realize it then because I was so young. But I was, you know, the drug talk happened at an early age, and it's not like I started smoking weed consistently in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
But
that was the first time.
I started yearning for weed.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. And it was something that, you know, growing up in a small town in Eastern Washington. It was a college town, but so drugs were available, but it was a really small, like there's 100 people in my graduating class. So like it was, you know, you had to support your net around you. So it was, you know, anyway.
That's pretty wild, man. That's a hell of a first story. And I like this, the phrase smoking a roach, you know what I mean? Like that's cool. I think we need to bring that back. So
yeah.
And now full circle, look at us. We're about to be enjoying some cannabis here in Nevada's original cannabis lounge, the Sky High Lounge. I did do a terrible job introducing the drinks at the top. I just said, let's just talk about fucking smoking weed first. I'm sipping on a liquid marijuana, mixing it up. My boy Pat's got a Blue Dream. Let's do a quick cheers here, brother.
Yeah.
Woo.
Oh, yeah. My fave.
Hell yeah, Miss Donica. Thank you very much. Oh, man, it's delicious. Beautiful. Thank you.
Lovely Dr. Dabs to take dabs out of.
We got an eighth and a gram, so I mean we can really go ham today.
Nice. I cleared my schedule for the
There you go.
second half of the morning.
Said I figured you're going to be in Sky High Lounge. Might as well just go all in, right?
Some wet wipes just to, get rid of the cooties.
There we go. Appreciated.
And some costs for you all.
Awesome. Oh, yes. And last but not least, these Indo smokes. Look at this, guys. Oh, man. I got to say, man, I love what you did with the packaging here. Anyone who has ever been a nicotine fiend somewhere in their life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to dive into that here right away,
Yeah.
shall we, huh? I mean, so before we start talking about more questions, where do you want to start, Pat?
Well, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the smokes. It's definitely a product that I wanted to do out of familiarity. I used to smoke cigarettes for about 30 years, pack a day, and quit about 5 years ago. And basically, I always liked the form factor of a pack of smokes, and I always liked. I don't know, the packaging and everything, I took from the tobacco industry, who was actually one of the quality control in tobacco is very high. If anything's wrong, they'll take it back, and the fact that they put so much research and development and came up with foil and cellophane to keep, this stuff fresh. We just were like, hey, we got to do something with foil and cellophane, make a multi-pack that people can hold on to for extended period of time. We put the Boost Integra Boost pack in there. In the desert you need a little added moisture, but
100%.
But yeah, it was just a great little multi-pack, matches and doob tube. We just wanted something that you could take, buy, bring to a party.
Yeah, man.
Carry around with you and use for however long it takes you to get through a quarter ounce. So
I think you're right that the market research is already done. That what I mean. These guys spent years doing it, so why reinvent the wheel?
Right.
But here, why don't you walk us through what's the best way to open your packs of Indo smokes? Or do you pack it? I think we were talking about this before the show.
They are made so you can pack. The only reason I would say they're facing so you can pack. The only reason I wouldn't is because there are strike anywhere matches in there.
Gotcha.
So, they like to say that anything can happen with those. They could light up inside of it.
I guess you're right.
We
That's
do
kinda...
keep them enclosed inside of the glass doob tube.
Oh, okay.
Glass doob tube. So
even if they do spark, it's gonna
spark. They should be arrested by lack of oxygen. But yeah, the inside you got the matches, you got the doob tube, and then you got the foil pack around the actual can rolls. And we call them can rolls because unlike regular pre-roll, which is packed using vibration and compaction, usually fine ground material. And let's be honest, a lot of them are all flower, but there's a lot of pre-rolls out there that are not all flower. So, these ones are all bud, ground up and basically rolled in one continuous roll, and then cut in half to make the two ends where the crutch is on one end and the open-ended like cigarette type designs on the other. So
gotcha.
We find that the rolled is a better experience. It burns more evenly and more through, and it's just the only way to go if you're going to be using full bud, because we don't have to grind. The more you grind bud down, right, the more it's going to get keef, the more that keef you're going to lose in transfer loss. So if you can just touch it very little, we basically grind it in what's called a Sensi shredder, just very quickly right before we roll it, because the machine works best with a high moisture level in the cannabis still. So the idea is we take the bud when it still has that core moisture, not moisture that you add through moisture packs, and you grind it and you package it and you get it all cellophaned up before it has a chance to dry out, which we all know in the desert is a thing. So
100%.
But yeah, this is my labor of love, and
let's get into it, man.
Yeah.
All right. Spark that bad boy up. Well, let's grab one here as well. Yeah, I do love the packaging. There's just something satisfying and nostalgic, I guess, at this point, the old tobacco industry. But you're right. There's, with a pack of smokes, there's several multi-packs on the market. But I think what you're doing here with a quarter ounce in a box, is convenient as hell. I was saying before we started filming here that, I was going on tour with the band, and we picked up a couple Indo smokes. And if I remember correctly, I want to say it was the collab you did with Nature's Chemistry, the Cosmic.
Yep.
Was it Cosmic? Was that
Yep,
the?
we
Okay.
did Cosmic and garlic cookies.
Gotcha. It was definitely the Cosmic, and man, we were literally smoking them like cigarettes, and it was just like it was easy because to me, it's I'm a joint smoker. You know what I mean? I always like the ease, the effect, and the fact that when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, that whole idea. So having it already rolled up, already easy, accessible. You got the matches and everything too, because we all stay up, and sometimes we lose the tools of the trade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So good on you
People
for just
steal
having right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why you get the lighter leashes, right? You know,
Yeah.
need some Indo lighter leashes in here, Pat. But well, cool, man. So while we enjoy one of these Indo smokes, man, going back to a young Patrick Allen, and you know what I mean, kind of discovering the plant and everything. What was one of your favorite cannabis stories from that point in your life?
It's a good question. I have a lot of favorite cannabis stories. I would say it was, and it's not just one story, but I was the kid who was getting his friends high for the first time. I was the bad kid.
Me too.
I mean, and sometimes your friends would, because everybody's endocannabinoid system is different.
Yeah.
And with me, I felt like, if everyone's seen this with their friends or themselves, the first time you smoke, you don't get high sometimes because I like to call that priming the pump, right? Your endocannabinoid system is not always like, it's like, what's this? Okay, what's going on here? But I feel like my pump was primed by my parents, hotboxing me in the car, so I was ready to go the first time.
Right.
But, I had a friend, I won't mention his name, but he smoked twice with us, and he didn't get high, and we were all perplexed because we're like, I think this was around our summer of 8th grade, somewhere around there.
Right.
And because we were all ripped and just like, oh, so much fun, and he just stone cold. So the next time we just made him take 6 hits in a row off smoking off a pipe back there.
Yeah, right.
And
so what peer pressure? Let's go.
and the turn that happened in him, it was just like, and watching him feel it for the first time and just run around and back then, I guess I don't know, maybe that makes me a natural born drug dealer or something. but I just really
you were born for this job, Pat.
I mean, so just off course a little bit, Indo, it really is what I grew up in a time period where a lot of us did, right? Where, you kept every little scrap because where I lived, in a college town, it would go dry,
Right.
you were scraping pipes and bongs and you were smoking Black Death.
The real smokers have all been there once or twice.
Yeah, we would
right?
call it the Black Death because it didn't matter. We were going to smoke it,
Right,
it would give you a headache later, but, it would get you high initially. And I talked so much my smoke went out, but,
yeah, I think I got this.
no, I'm good. I'm
You
going to
good?
back up in just a second.
Yeah.
But, seeing that and kind of the villainization of cannabis, and I dealt with it my whole life because I loved it. When I became a daily smoker, probably when I was about right after 8th grade, right, going to high school, because I just, figured I was working at that point. I got a job young so I could have money to do what I wanted. And I was very functional with it, right? I was able to get away with it, which I think kind of fueled I was like, it makes me feel better. I can get away with it. And back then I thought that was a good thing. But, as legalization happened, I was just like, I wanted to show people who doubted it and I just want to grow it,
Right.
I mean, I like to joke that our unofficial mission statement at Indo is we grow cannabis, and the dual meaning of that, just cannabis in general. I want to make products that make people want to try cannabis for the first time, whether it's a topical or a 5 milligram tablet, or we're coming out with a 3 milligram tablet that we're hoping, people will want to try just because it's so approachable. Right.
Right.
And so, because I think there's still there's still a stigma around it. And I think once you break that down, I've seen it happen, with friends and family that, has felt that way about it. But once you break that down, then people who find relief in it or like it, we'll switch to it, and everyone knows, I mean, the U.S. is it's a drinking country first, right? But I mean, I would like for it in 20 years to be not a drinking country first.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be better for all of us. So.
100%. No, I think that's a beautiful mission statement and well put. You know what I mean? Growing cannabis. And a lot of what you just said resonates with me because I was the same way as a kid. Coming up, I was functional. You know what I mean? I was the one who was also getting people high for their first time. But it was early on in my adulthood was when I had this paradigm shift where I was like, this makes me feel better. Everyone's telling me that this is horrible for me and I'm some terrible drug addict and whatever, but I just don't believe it, and I can't buy. You know, I'm not taking the bait.
Right.
And I made it like a mission statement. I want to say it was like around 21, where I was like, anything I can do not high, I can do high, and I'm just going to start doing that, and just trying to do that because it was kind of a mission statement. Like, how can I get everyone else to understand what I understand, like, which is just not what I'm being told. So, good on you guys, and that's a beautiful mission statement for Indo.
Yeah, and I lost the story, but it's just fun, you know, exposing people to it, and you know, I realize it's an intoxicant, and it's not all. It's not always going to be the most productive thing for everybody at every different point in their life.
Not for everyone.
But given the alternatives, especially in the day and age that, you know, kids are growing up in now, like I would much rather them have a crutch of an intoxicant that, you know, they can remain functional and make good choices, you know, and like, you know, not try random pills, you know. Luckily when I was a kid I could try random pills and live to tell the story, but you know now that I'm a dad, it's like I don't want. It's just, you know, you'll worry a little bit more. So I'd rather have people, you know, be more open-minded to like cannabis than alcohol, and definitely, you know, than venturing too far down the other.
100%.
So.
I think the younger generation's already kind of speaking towards that. I you know, I'm not going to quote the stats because can't do that right now. Yeah. But I've seen several reports where people are talking about just alcohol use being down with the younger generations and the people that are just turning 21. And I think a big part of that is because of the accessibility of cannabis and just having that alternative option. Because, you know, I've had very few hangovers off some weed unless I just really overdid it on some edibles, and that's not even really a hangover. I'm just like, I'm just still high. But, you know, I think it's definitely a safer option, and, you know, good on you for helping steward the plant forward, brother. So.
And I feel like alcoholism, like, is in a lot of people's family. In my family, I know that with alcohol, you know, I've ended up in hospitals, you know, and blacked out, you know, and that I'm the type of alcoholic who wasn't the one who drank every day, because when I drank, I binge drank, so I wasn't able to, like, you know, bridge that gap and drink the next day. At least I guess I was lucky I wasn't able to bridge that gap, because that's, you know, but with cannabis usage, like, I still drink probably a couple times a month, but it's really it changes how you drink, right? Like if I'm high when I'm walking into a situation, I'll have a drink and I'm like, yeah, you know, that's already gonna make me really tired, and you know, I'm not like, oh, I want another one, you know. It's like, and I've, you know, I'm a firm believer in people who enjoy like having 2 glasses of wine every night. Hey, why don't you try taking 2.5 milligrams or 5 milligrams and have 1 glass of
microdose,
wine and see what happens. Like, I mean, it's, first of all, you'll probably have as good of a, you know, time or better, and you will be consuming less alcohol and have a, you know, a less, you know, hard time in the morning. So it's like I try and work it in any way I can. Like with my friends who drink, with, you know, I'm just like, just try this, you know, trust me.
Yeah. So try some of my Indo tabs. Let's go.
Yeah,
right?
I do.
Cool, man. So before we start talking about Indo, what were you doing before you founded Indo? What was going on in your life before that?
So I was a service industry worker. I started at a burger joint in high school. I waited tables through college, Denny's, Chinese restaurants, you know, and then eventually I was bartending in Portland, Oregon for a long period of time, and went to restaurant management for about 4 years. Then I went into country club management, which, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with country clubs, but it's I would rather be a member than a manager. You know, I was a club manager at a club in Portland, Oregon, and, you know, it just, I realized, like, well, I work for 500 people, and, you know, they're all my bosses, and they all tell me the best way to run this place, and, like, that all changes every few years with the board of directors and the, you know, committees and council changes. So as soon as Washington legalization was announced, I basically was all in. You know, I took like a 50% pay cut and started selling edibles for a company called Zoots in Seattle, Washington. And Zoots were just these little rocks. They made some other products, but they're little sugar-free 5 milligram rocks. And when I started there, I think we had about 100 accounts. And when I finished about 16 months later, we were up to like 330. So I opened about 200 accounts in a little over a year, driving around the state, driving money, driving weed, checking out all the new stores, because Washington was growing pretty fast at that point in time. And I realized like, I didn't like working for them either, just because it was just, I was learning so much in the market about what people wanted, what other companies were doing, what the market was basically asking for. The market will tell you, what it wants, if you're looking at the right, markers.
Yeah, if you're paying attention, keeping your fingers on the pulse, right?
And they were dead set on this sugar-free 5 milligram lozenge, and that was great. There was a market for that. We were doing good, but people wanted sugared ones too. I mean, right. 10 milligrams and cheaper, and all these different flavors, and it was a very rigid structure, because it was a GMP facility, which in itself is hard. You couldn't really call it GMP because we were a cannabis company, but it was run by GMP operators. So they were like, oh, well, if we launch products, it's going to be 2 products a year, and we can look at what those products would be for next year. And I'm like, and meanwhile, other brands are like launching 16 products, just like in a matter of a few months.
You're just
and I was
choosing
just
not
like,
to, yeah.
And I was like, well, I saw the writing on the wall, and I got lucky enough to get introduced through one of the retail partners, through one of my accounts, to my current partner, and he had a tier 3. Closer to where my girlfriend was at the time in Portland, down in Battleground, and I went and worked for him, and he had been steered lots of different directions, and mostly wrong directions, and we started building up his license together. And at the same time, I saw a Viceland special, about the Paiute tribe in Las Vegas, and it was just, it was really interesting to me, because I was in cannabis, and the story, behind it just, a small tribe in Vegas, getting most of their income from nicotine, and everybody knew that, nicotine sales were going down. And I was just like, man, it would be, in my head, and to my girlfriend and now wife at the time, I was like, man, I would much rather go make some money for that situation than, just about any other situation. I thought it was, it would be neat. And a year later, and maybe it was 2 years later, it was a year or 2 later, the opportunity arose for us to come work with the Paiute tribe. And my partner, made the introductions, and we were able to launch Arrow here as a brand. And we kept Indo in Washington for the time being, just because, it was myself and, a team of three people, to start with, and we've grown from that up to about 20 people over the last 6 years. But it was just, it was meant to be, I think,
right.
In lots of ways. So.
Yeah, man, sounds like kismet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of manifestation. You know what I mean?
I think so.
You're doing your homework. You're already grinding in the scene. You're applying what you learned, and take advantage of the opportunities afforded you. And that's a cool story, man.
Yeah.
I never knew that one beforehand, even though I've known Pat for a long time, and that's a rad one, man.
I don't talk very much.
He's Pat's like, can I just get my shipment or my check or what's going on?
I've just been hustling, honestly. Yeah, this industry is one that you can lose yourself in. Pretty much all of my time that my kids aren't, and my kids and wife don't, fill with my head with,
right.
is spent thinking about how what would work well in this industry, or what we could do, or what would be the next logical step as a small operator, in an ocean of larger fish,
right.
for the most part, So it keeps me up at nights, but in a good way. I love
there you
my
go.
Job, living the dream, and I'm aware of it. That lots of people would like to be in the position that I'm in. So I always take it as keep my head down and work,
There it is. No, man, that's a great story, great outlook. So we've talked about basically how Indo was formed, but how long have you been working in cannabis just generally?
So 9 years.
9 years?
9 years,
There you go.
yeah.
Coming up on them double digits, man.
I went up on the double
There you
digits.
go.
But I mean, I definitely was selling bags in college, like
Right.
most stoners were. I wouldn't say I was selling bags to make much of a living because I was still working, but I was selling bags to support my weed habit.
Yeah.
I'd buy a good ounce, a
There
really
you
good
go.
ounce for
Yeah.
$350 back then, 300,
Right.
350.
Dude, I remember those days.
And
Man.
I would sell X amount of it in 2 gram notches
There it
to
is.
make back most of it.
Oh, that's smart. You're smarter than I. You already had the entrepreneur angle. I was just doing 8s for cheap just to keep my fucking quarter free or whatever it was, So
My friend had cornered that market, so I had to stick to the higher quality.
there you go.
stuff.
There you go. Right. Hell yeah, man. All right, dude. So we talked about how Indo kind of came together. How did you guys land on the name?
So it was actually a coworker of mine and myself. We knew we needed to rebrand because so the company name was Agrowana, and nothing against the name Agrowana. Like, some dudes who don't smoke weed sitting in a room talking can easily come up with the name Agrowana, and
Yeah.
it sounds kind of cool. And it was actually, but it was not a brand. Like, we didn't
Yeah.
look at it as a viable brand. So we were like, what can we come up with? And I knew from like what I'd learned from Zoots and just marketing classes in general in college, and like I was like, we want to keep it short, And so I said Indo, ENDO, because I grew up. I mean, the Chronic dropped when I was in high school,
Right.
and Carly Bodmer, who was working with us at the time, she was like, no, INDO. And I was like, and she's like, it looks better, trust me. And she like,
There you go.
she drew it out, just or she typed it on, like, we won't have a logo, it'll just be this font. I'm just like, okay. But the idea behind it was always like, well, Indo is, a term that, people kind of think about when they think about cannabis. So we caught it at that point. And I thought it is better not to do ENDO because we'd probably get sued or
Yeah.
cease and desist from Dre and Snoop or,
Yeah. Yeah.
So we went with INDO, and we were actually growing an Indonesian like landrace sativa strain at the time. That I was like, it kind of makes sense. And I was like, you always, when you're growing, you're always like, this is the next best thing,
Right.
thing. So I was like, maybe this is where the people growing the Indonesian landrace strains, right? And
Yeah.
but unfortunately, they didn't yield very well. Our test very high. So
Yeah, God, I love it.
It's a
A lot of
problem
the old
with this
legacy
land.
stuff, man. Yeah, the landrace stuff, it just doesn't do what we expect cannabis to do these days,
Exactly. Cannabis has changed.
No, man, that's cool though, and that's and you're right. Less is more. Keeping it short, it's simple but recognizable, and I think you did a great job. There's personally, I think it's better than Agrowana. No
Yeah.
disrespect, but I think you made the right choice there.
Yeah,
man.
us too.
Hell yeah, man. So we talked about how you kind of got everything founded. We landed on the name. What were some early challenges you had to face when you were first hitting the market?
Well, I believe, competition has been the first and ongoing challenge. Is just the level of competition that we're up against in this market. I think, and I would like to call out Arrow in general because they are a bunch of smart people, and they have, they taught us so much about quality control and terpenes and like what you're looking for and how to basically put out quality, where that really wasn't a thing when we first got into this market. Like, we were definitely ruffling some feathers, by just saying that's not good enough, when it came to the products, the distillate, the other products we were putting into the actual vape. So I think I credit a lot of that with Arrow, and then we took that to heart and really we've never let go. That quality control is the biggest thing for us. We don't buy things until we taste things. We don't get into long agreements where we're required to buy X amount of this product and we don't have control over the quality. So we have been able to grow slowly enough and keep really good relationships with partners, and that's what cannabis, it hasn't changed so much. It's it was always about a relationship. Like when you went to your dealer's house, it was
Right.
always about. I mean, very few times that I go to someone's house and get a bag and not smoke a bowl with them. Right? It's just
Right.
because that was that was kind of what
Part of the culture, right?
part of the culture, right? And
Yeah.
it would and you kept those relationships good, and you wouldn't be dry, because you would build yourself a little network, and that really hasn't changed. And it's just a matter of like how you do business in the marketplace. And I've always been one where I'd never burn bridges, even if it's like I've been, let's say I went to a facility a couple times and their quality just wasn't right there. I'm not like, oh, these are failed and stick my nose up and like walk away. Like I try to talk it through them. I try to show them like the notes that we might be smelling at a certain temp, and work with them, because I just don't. I don't really believe in like closing off relationships unless it's a dispensary going out of business that owes us a bunch of money.
At that point, it's like, all right, cool. Yeah, kick rocks, dude.
Sorry, I gotta send you to collections, but
Yeah.
but besides that, it's really just, I think our strength has been how we operate and keep relationships up. I came from a customer service side, and my customer in this market is dispensaries.
Right.
My consumer is obviously the end users who are buying Indo Cannabis, but I have to have that relationship with my customers, which are the stores, and we do that by just running a tight ship, always like delivering quickly on people's orders, and I think I credit my team really that I've been able to build. My first hire, Rena, who's been with me the whole time, and really the two of us have created a team that we all don't take each other too seriously. We all take accuracy and efficiency very seriously, but we were able to work in like a really tight knit environment, and really just team members that care for each other, look out for each other, enjoy being around each other, and it fosters good products.
Yeah, 100%. Keep it positive, right?
Yeah.
Quality in, quality out.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. So you said you've got about 20 people right now on the Indo team?
Yeah, about 20 in Nevada. We used to have operations in Washington. We did have to close those down as the state. There was about 1,100 people doing what we were doing in Washington about
Gotcha.
4 years ago, and now there's like 200. So the contrition has been real in Washington. It might be even under 200. It might be right around 200. But basically, if you don't have a huge setup in a state like Washington, you can't be efficient enough to really play with the big boys. So we decided to focus everything into Nevada, and then grow from here, hopefully, into a few states with just a few products. Like tablets and topicals is what those are the products that I feel like I can get people to try cannabis with. So those are the products like I want to grow into neighboring states, which is a big focus for 2025. So
100%. So, I mean, let's talk about the lineup of products, because if my memory serves correct, I know we started with Indo Cart, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we've always had topicals, and I know we've rolled out Indo Tabs, in the past couple of years, and Indo Smokes is probably the newest one. Is that correct?
Indo Smokes is one of the newest. The Puff, the all-in-one.
That's right. I did miss the Puff.
Is probably the newest and most exciting. It's doing great. But the Tabs, I think, are a neat story, just because Washington, I learned how powerful tablets, and up there there's a couple people making gel caps, which you have to be at a really high volume to do the gel caps. But I saw like, hey, people are buying hundreds of thousands of these a month in Washington, and Nevada's market was so low, and I looked at the volume of the market and compared to like where it should be, and then I looked at the regulations, and like my eyes got all big, because I was like, wait a sec, you can make 100 milligram tablets in Washington, and nobody's even going over 5 milligrams. There was RSO capsules that were at 10 milligrams, but besides that, the only tablets were 5 milligram tablets, and it was 100 milligram max. And I was like, oh, it's like, this is crazy. And so we launched the 5 milligrams, the 20 milligrams, and the max tabs and the CBD tabs, with the idea that really there was entry level there, which was the 5 milligram, because you can break those in half to a 2.5 milligram, and there's the value because it had 500 milligrams in a pack. There's no trial size. That's the one. It scares a lot of people, but once they realize the value in it, we've seen a high adoption level. And then the 20 milligram was perfect for the stereotypical consumer who might be fall in the range of a 10 milligram to 40 milligram dose, right? You could break it in half, or you could take a couple. And then the max tabs were the idea, like if the best value, you could break it in half for a 50 milligram dose, or take the full 100 milligram dose, which I did once and put me down for 18 hours.
I got an R&D quality control, right? Yeah.
I had to do it before we hit the market. I was like, I just got to, I'm more of like, I'm actually using edibles a lot more than I usually do right now, but I'm probably more of like a 20 to 40 milligram dose now. When I tried the max tab, I was not using
Right.
I was not using edibles, and it handicapped me. So tolerance,
Yeah, knowing your dosage is important, right?
Yeah, it is
100%.
important. But the tablets, they really took off in the market. I think for tablets has since 10 times.
Wow.
And now Level is in the space as well, and we're both very successful in the market, and it's really grown because once you realize the novelty of taking a gummy wears off for some, they're like, hey, I might just want to feel this without the calories or the extra cost of like a gummy, right? So I've got nothing against gummies. I eat plenty of those as well. So,
right.
But for a lot of people who need to take, we have someone in our trailer, Dylan, who he has to take somewhere between like 300 and 600 milligrams just to get his rocks off, like a normal way. And I'm like, that's a lot of gummies.
Yeah.
At that point,
yeah, with the way the regs are set up in Nevada, like you're gonna just be
the glycemic
hurting.
index.
Yeah.
Is out of control. So they're really great for that, and we sell a lot more max tabs than we ever imagined in this market, and that makes me feel good because I've gotten a lot of people who've reached out and say, hey, thanks for making these. It's the only way I can do this, because some people, you make your own edibles if you have a really high tolerance, but all that stuff takes time.
It
Not
does.
everyone's got time to do that stuff. So
there's definitely a demand. I remember when you first rolled it out, because I've been in the industry for 8 years myself, or coming up on 8 years here in actually October. Wow. But there were other tablets and things like that, but I think a lot of them were rooted in the other minor cannabinoids, your CBDs, CBN, CBGs, they were all low dosage. And you're right, there are tons of people out here who just need to take 100 plus milligrams, maybe 300 plus milligrams, depending on the person, in order to get where they're trying to go. So, and you're right, like that much sugar, it doesn't really matter what the medium is. If it's chocolate, gummies, you just face a whole gram of RSO, I guess, at that point. So that makes it much more palatable and keeps it medicinal, especially as the market's matured now and kind of the medicinal aspects of the industry have kind of fallen off. But I think that's what kind of kept us rooted in the plant in the early days, right?
And you can save those calories for after you take the max.
There you go.
If you are upright, then you probably will be hungry at some point in time.
Yeah, by the time they really kick in, you're going to be famished, right?
I actually have taken half of a max tab since then. Like when I get sick, and sometimes you just want to sleep at night. Man, it does work. I do have a little bit of edible hangover, but it's workable.
Again, just still high, like, okay, just double up on the coffee. Exactly. Let's go, right?
Double shot.
Oh, yeah, man. So, in your opinion, what sets Indo apart from the competition?
Well, what we try to do is, with our branding and with everything we do, is we know we're not ever going to be the coolest brand, because we wanted to make it very approachable, very inclusive. We wanted it to be very straightforward. And we wanted to create value, and those were really the main pillars of what we're trying to do: value, inclusion, and education. And so, Indo Cart, right? It's very simple. It's just cart, right? Every. I think the puff is probably the most nondescript one, our newest disposable. But everything else besides that has been pretty straightforward branding. And with the bottom line of like, hey, we want this to fit into people's lives on a budget, level. So we try and strive to, and that's why we have like the larger package sizes on some items, because it's cheaper for us to do it that way. It saves on packaging. It gives you value. Now we know that we might have to do some trials on some of the new products to, so people can try it like on a small level of like, hey, what do I like raw tabs? One of our new products is like rosin tablets, where we're doing, just a solventless. But they're a solventless tablet, but they're a 30 milligram
You're good.
trapezoid that breaks into 3 triangles at 10 milligrams each. And then, we'll have like a 10 pack that'll be 300 milligrams, and we'll also have a 25 pack that'll be 750 milligrams. That will always be cheaper to get the larger one. So we want to create ones that take advantage of the regulations as much as possible, get people as much milligrams for their dollar when it comes to like items like tablets. And we're always competitively priced with our vape products. We can't ever be the cheapest, but we'll never be the most expensive. The cheapest is, we're not trying to race to the bottom. We're trying to position ourselves with a quality product where people can enjoy it and not, pay for.
Keeping it consistent, keeping the quality high, making sure you're always, proud of the product you're delivering, but trying to, again, just keep the end consumer in mind,
Right.
And I mean, it sounds to me like, man, you've just been doing a great job, and all the years you've been doing this, just keeping your fingers on the pulse of the industry. Like, how is it growing? How is it evolving? And what is missing? And, how can Indo fill that gap? So good on you. I think you've rolled out all of these products like well. I've tried all of them personally. In fact, what is it? I just had the Indo Balm, it's the tight jungle stick. That's it. Yeah. So my neck was pinched up. I was literally just a few weeks ago. I was going back home to spend some time with the family, and the day before my flight, my neck pinched up like real bad. I'm like, I can't believe I'm gonna be getting on a fucking plane tomorrow with this,
Nice.
So, but I packed that sucker with me, and I was like every 2 hours I was applying it, and it works, man. Like it was not a fun place to be, but it's a great product.
I have to put on my wife morning and night right now because her neck's been messed up for like a week because she slept on her wrong. But it's like one of the few things that gives her like relief.
Yeah.
Of course, with lots of ibuprofen too. It's not a miracle, but it does give people relief on a lot of stuff. And we just saw Headset were #1 topical last month. So.
Oh wow! Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Well earned, dude. It's probably one of my favorite products, and it's easy to apply. The packaging's great, and great product. And congratulations. That's cool, man. #1 topical. Oh yeah, well earned.
I got a funny story.
What you got?
We were gonna do when we were doing jungle stick research. We were also gonna do a capsaicin based balm.
Oh wow.
That we were gonna launch at the same time as jungle stick.
Okay.
But I paid for these formulations, and the gentleman doing the capsaicin balm, like he made these R&Ds for everyone to put on. We all put it on, and we all got like burns, right?
Oh god.
And like I'm like, dude, what is this formulation? Like,
right? Yeah.
I'm like, I made him like show me the formula, and he had it like 3% capsaicin, and like
oh wow.
he had like misread, suppose he had done this for a living, but
I mean, yeah.
But I like had to show him like the guidelines of like where it should be at, which is like 1/10 of that, so we had people like some of the burns were bad enough where they lasted a few days on people, and it was like I could not like ask my staff to R&D another version, but now we were just talking about it. We're like, I think we're ready to try,
Okay, yeah. But earned your trust back, right?
We've all healed, and I'll make sure that we are doing the right formulation on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're always working on new products because we like what we do. So
yeah, man, no, that's the future. You're got to keep moving forward.
Yep.
So, I mean, we've talked a lot about Indo and how you've grown the business, but in your opinion, what has been the hardest part of scaling Indo to what it is today?
I would say, I love you, Matt, my partner, but I mean, having the capital to scale in this industry is actually pretty, it's pretty immense, like, so to get where we're at here, it was millions of dollars that was invested by my partner, which we were able to pay back. but it's not cheap, right? Like I would have never been able to do that. I'm lucky I had an angel investor such as him to make this, something that we could accomplish. But when you think about other states and like scaling past this, it's the amount of money is insane, I'm pretty thoughtful about ways we can do it. We're actually gonna create production trailers that we can make different products in that will actually be compliant for different states, or they can wheel out machinery into production spaces that already exist, so we can keep control of our production process and our quality control and still produce product in other states. So that's our like short-term goal, but it's still, I'm looking at $1 million to make this happen, and that's not something that's easy for me to find. So I say finding capital is hard, but that also being said, I want to be able to grow without the pressure of outside investment, and so it's more important that I grow with my partner and with my team, slowly, than it is to like push to states and like try and make things happen that really you end up wasting a lot of money in those scenarios. So to us, it's been capital, and then the second is just human capital, and it might just be myself, but I think it's also human nature. But I love my team here, but to think about how I could create that team in another state and oversee that. I mean, my mind, I like to think I have bandwidth, but my mind doesn't work to the point where I'm like, okay, like, what is this actually take? And that's where the capital comes back into play, because you're hiring people to help you hire people to help you build a team, and you're so far detached that you've lost the pulse on what you're accomplishing in that market. So I think really it's just human capital and money, and we're trying to grow the team currently, and I do have people that are interested in like slow growth in neighboring states, like ones that we can touch besides California, because ain't nobody trying to go to California over here.
Certainly
I'd
not.
rather go to Utah and sell some tablets, and I'd rather go to New Mexico and sell some tablets, and in Arizona, honestly, than delve into the
the California
the nation
market,
next door. So
well said.
Yeah.
No, man, that's great points that you're bringing up there, and it's actually cool, because as long as we're doing the podcast, we haven't really heard someone put it in that regard. But I do think, again, you're like this underdog story. You've just been out here grinding, putting your head down, working, like you said at the top, but still putting the meaning and the consumer in mind as you're building it. So good on you, Pat. That's really that's awesome. And I'm confident you'd crush it in some other markets.
Well,
Utah's gotta love tablets, dude. Come on, get out of here.
I think they do. We're in talks.
There you go.
We'll put it that way.
Well, cool, man. So let's start talking about like the future of Indo. Before we do that, I mean, do you want to do any more weed here? We got this Gold XS is our collab with Dr. Dabber right here. We do have some wax here. I don't remember the strain off the top of my head, but it looks like we got some batter here.
I'm gonna go in order. You gotta go BT before dab, right?
Okay, there you go. Here, if you prep that up, I'll get this ready for you here.
I mean, not gonna lie, I dab like dozen times a year.
There you go.
So
gotcha. Well, we don't have to. No peer pressure there, but I do get it. It is still like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Toward the end, I can just kind of fade out.
Yeah, he said I cleared my calendar for today. You know what I mean?
I got some things I gotta do this afternoon, but I can recover.
There you go.
From dabs.
Bounce back quick. He's like, as long as I'm not facing a 100 milligram Indo tab right now.
That's the thing with edibles.
Yeah, right. That meeting's getting canceled.
There ain't no recovering.
Cool, man. So as we get this ready, man, what are your thoughts on federal legalization?
Yeah, so I mean that's a big question mark right now. It's my thoughts a year ago were that somehow the feds were going to allow it to happen through the Farm Bill, which is not good for anybody who operates in the regulated market, because obviously nothing is regulated on Farm Bill compliant products, right? I'm not saying there aren't good operators on that side, but there sure is a lot of bad operators. So a year ago, I would have been like, I can't believe this is happening. I mean, it's still happening right now, but I think the rescheduling, whenever that supposedly is going to happen, that will change things. There'll have to be statements made that will clarify the Farm Bill, and there's also legislation right now that's in process that could clarify the Farm Bill, and so everybody knows the loopholes that exist with like product weight, right? The Farm Bill was written like cannabis can't have more than 0.3% THC, but it's been extrapolated through capitalism to now be like this gummy can't have more than 0.3% THC.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy, and I'm not gonna lie, like we as Indo was never contemplating like going that way, but I mean I was not against if I thought it was the federal government was just gonna let this keep going on, then we're gonna jump in at some point, right? I mean, it's
100%.
Yeah, and we'll be good operators in a market that good operators aren't always the standard. So, but right now our approach is just sit and wait and see what kind of plays out through the election process and with legislation. But yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of regulated industries in the U.S. that are being hurt through mail order cannabis.
Yeah.
You can get anything you want.
Yeah, man. I mean, just go to Champs, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You walk around there, you're like,
Exactly.
this is just triggering all my, like, cannabis industry, like, red flags. Like, why is there a big old mason jar just full of bud just sitting out? You know what I mean? But it is interesting, man. And good on you for, again, paying attention and just being ready to pivot when you need to, because that's how we stay relevant out here, right?
Yes. We do some CBD sales online, but we've never broached psychoactive minor cannabinoid sales. It's just it's hard.
Yeah.
I can't rationalize it. I'm too much of an old stoner.
So. There it is, right? Yeah. There it is. We've talked a little bit about this already, but what changes have you noticed in the market over the past few years?
Well, definitely, Nevada is going through what all maturing markets go through with contraction of. And contraction really happening through the drop of value of material and then products. And so the bad operators who might have been a little top heavy, might have had too many executives, eating out, or I'm not talking about anybody in specific here, but I'm just saying if you weren't operating in a lean way and you were reliant on these huge margins that existed in a non-mature market, then as value goes down, which I was fully aware, being from Washington, watching that happen, that it was going to happen. But I think that's what's happened, really. I mean, the amount of cannabis being sold in Nevada is down dollar-wise, but the number of units being sold is not down. There's still a lot of units. There's actually probably growth on a per unit basis. It's just the value of everything is kind of torpedoed in the last 2 years.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of the industry peers I'll talk about, the race to the bottom. We already touched on that earlier, and you're right. You were fortunate to be in one of those first markets to kind of see what unfolded firsthand. So it's not like a surprise. You're sitting here, you're 4th, 5th year and running a business, being like, wait a minute, what do you mean the cost of cannabis is like cut in half? But it is it's a struggle that obviously isn't unique to your brand. It's market wide, and it's interesting to see how Nevada is going to play out these next couple of years, because again, everyone's talking about it. We're all aware of it, but you gotta, like you said, if you're not keeping it lean and you're not keeping that intent there from the jump, like you're just kind of setting yourself up to fail, right?
Yep, exactly. So that's why, I mean, it is nice to have had the experience before I came here. I mean, it's emerging markets like cannabis. This is the reason I went to cannabis, not just because it was cannabis, but because I believed in it. I used it every day. Even as a club manager, I was using it every day. And it also was like how many emerging markets happen in someone's lifetime, right?
Right.
It's cannabis just becoming legal and just becoming a thing. Like, I just felt like it's hard to sit on the sideline.
Yeah.
And I had as good a shot as anybody, once you kind of got into it and learned the levers, I guess.
Yeah.
Not that the levers always work.
Yeah.
Sometimes they break.
Yeah. And you're like, oh shit, what do I do now, right?
I wasted $10,000.
But no, man, good on you for grinding and again just helping move everything forward. I like the mission statement you said at the top again, to grow cannabis, and that's a good way to look at it. And to that point, what are you guys working on in the future? Are you have any new products in development that we can talk about?
Yeah, well, I talked about the rosin tabs that we're gonna launch.
Which sounds awesome. I definitely want to try those. That sounds cool, man. Rosin is a completely different effect, especially when you're consuming it.
I think a lot of people like. Well, for one, you're getting everything, right? You're getting the flavonoids, the terpenes, you're getting the cannabinoids, and it's staying. A lot of these might even be strain-specific runs that we're doing. I don't know if we'll market them as strain-specific because I steer away from like telling people that they'll feel certain effects on a tablet. So
that's a safe way to approach it.
Yeah, but I think the fact that it's solventless, on our R&D, we've definitely felt like they're a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Because we made 20s on our R&D, and we compared them to 20s of our Indo tabs, and we had just about everyone's like, yeah, these, and we tried to press them at the exact same weight. So we think that the effect was actually a little bit heightened, and the idea that you're having something it's been pressed once into rosin, and then it was pressed twice into a tablet.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
Like,
right.
No solvent, you just
there you go.
Just press in plant and then press in tablets. So it's a cool product. And then we're also one called Micro Melts, which this is not approved yet by the CCB, but so the idea is, but they are in the process of approving it. We're just kind of going through it, but it's a lozenge type. It's called a compound cup is the actual shape, but it's like a rounded lozenge, and it's gonna be like maybe a little bit bigger than a dime, and it will be a 3 milligram sublingual tablet. So you'll let it just melt in your mouth, right? And the longer you hold it in your mouth, the more you'll get the sublingual absorption. I'm not gonna lie, I have ADHD. Like I can't hold things, and like I can't, so I end up swallowing them. But you'll still get intestinal absorption at that point. But it's a 3 milligram lozenge. There is sugar in it. It's fairly low, like amount of sugar. I forgot exactly how much sugar is in each one, but it'll be 100 pack, like in a child resistant like paper tube top that you'll be able to like. I mean, I don't want to call it like a car cup, but I mean, when you have gum or like or whatever. But 3 milligram like little mints that you can pop for microdosing, and we really want to target people who've never tried edible or who are like, 3 milligrams.
Yeah, good, safe entry level product.
Yeah, and I think for people that are in the mid range that like taking 10 to 20 milligrams, I mean, popping like 5 or 6 of these ain't a thing either.
Right.
So it's like. You can just pop them all day long if you want.
There you go. Very nice, man.
But yeah, that's another tablet product that we're looking to launch, and then really after that, nothing for the time being. We're running out of space.
There you go. Hey, good problem to have, man. I always got new products in development, and those sound awesome. I can't wait to see those come to fruition. I remember, talking to Pat years ago about just getting the pill presser, right, for the tabs, So always growing.
You had to get the DEA certification to.
There you go.
I'd actually tell the DEA I was making cannabis tablets. It's pretty cool.
He said, that's a flex and a half right there. He said, look at me, professional level drug dealer, right?
Don't worry, I'll be pressing these legally.
Hell yeah, man. All right, so we're at the point we got to wrap this up and open this lounge, but my last question for you as I turn this sucker on, I think we talked too long, it turned off, but what advice would you give the next generation of cannabis entrepreneurs? And there you go, you got a dab coming too, so double whammy.
What should I do first?
It's heating up, so as soon as it vibrates, it's going to be ready to hit, but yeah, man.
Okay. I would say, at this point, this is going to sound horrible, but it's turned into, a corporate industry, which everyone knew it would. So I guess you just got to learn to play the game and put in the work to play the game, with some of these companies. I'm not gonna lie. Like I hope that I get to be in the cannabis industry for at least the next 5-10 years. But after that, I'm pretty realistic about my chances of survival. In a corporate driven environment when cannabis becomes like a commodity, at a certain level. I'll be ready to be watching it from the sideline and
there you go, right? Yeah. So now I can just now I'm a consumer, right? Promoting myself to a consumer. There you go.
Until then, just put the work in. That's all I can say. That's all I feel like I did to get where I'm at. Was and get lucky.
There you go. Yeah, testament to hard work, man. Again, always evolving. So,
yeah.
Well, cool, guys. I want to thank Patrick for coming on the show.
Thanks, Tom.
Make sure you guys are following. It's Indo Cannabis and all the handles. That's the website and everything, right? If you want to even look up Uncle Pot, I think you can find my man on X. It's a great handle. I love it. So, awesome.
At Indo Dad on Instagram. But
there you go.
I
Indo
never
Dad.
post because I'm
busy, right? Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys for watching NuWu Sessions Podcast. Make sure you follow all the socials at NuWu LV, and we'll see you on the next one. We out. Pat, thank you, bro. Yeah, that was a good episode. Hell yeah. Thank you, brother. That was great. Yeah, see, that's what you just conversation. That's a good one. Awesome. Oh, man, look at that. That's good time. Yeah. Sometimes I never know because I'm sitting here getting high too. You know what I mean?